Hello, I'm Dr. Macclevoid. It's not my real name. Hairy but fun. And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to watch this review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Hey cinephiles, paedophiles, all the files, you're welcome to this well, actually not the paedophiles, you're not welcome. I don't know why I said that. You're not welcome, but the rest of you are welcome to this review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And what kind of movie is it? Well, if you think of the series overall, you might think about highs like Fallout and Ghost Protocol. You think about, with Fallout, that urgency, that efficiency, that relentless countdown to Armageddon type tension that drove the movie, with action sequence after action sequence after action sequence. Well, imagine all of that taken out. No action sequence after action sequence after... No. But you remember Ghost Protocol, right? What a fun Mission Impossible that was. So full of humour and playfulness, and yeah, it was a really colourful and enjoyable espionage adventure, wasn't it? With a glossy but really fun. Well, let's take that fun out. Let's extract the fun. Let's extract the humour with our giant syringe. Now, imagine a Mission Impossible without all of that action and without all of that humour. But you don't need to, do you? Because it already exists. It's called Dead Reckoning, the 7th Mission Impossible movie that we were lucky enough to be treated to 2 years ago. It used to be called Dead Reckoning Part 1, but that was soon abandoned. Why? Well, you see, audiences didn't really like it. They thought it was, too long and full of ponderous, boring philosophy and expository monologues, and it was bloated, and 2 hours and 45 minutes, and an hour and 45 minutes of it is chat and nothing really happening and no real impetus, and it was all a bit it was a bit laden, wasn't it? No one liked to say it at the time, but it's a bit of a dud. I mean, the action was great when it came, but the critics, including moi, thought it was too long, you thought it was too long, and the box office suffered a little bit, didn't it? So, Christopher McQuarrie, writer, director, the cruiser, the man who's always cruising, if rumour is to be believed, looked at that and said, we better put a bit of distance between ourselves and that movie. And also, we don't want people to feel that they have to have seen it in order to see this final installment, even though they do, because this is a direct sequel to that. They renamed it Final Reckoning. But weirdly, despite everything I've just said, they've made the same movie again. Except all of those flaws that I just talked about, it's worse. It's even longer, and there are even more long speeches. And the enemy is still an abstraction, the entity, an AI that must be shut down at all costs. And the human villain, the adjunct to this AI, is still a sort of one-dimensional villain. We're not talking about Philip Seymour Hoffman here, or the bloke from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in the 4th one. Bloody hell, even Dougray Scott from Mission Impossible 2, and we never thought we'd miss him. No, there's no solid, gritty, get your teeth into villain here. It's a thing. It's actually a bit of animated wallpaper. It's a screensaver, basically. The villain of this movie is a fucking screensaver. And when we're learning about it, and what it wants to do, what it plans to do, all of the characters who are weighed down by the stakes in this movie, because it's nothing less, by the way, than the annihilation of the human race. They're all very weighed down by the stakes. Oh God, I can feel the stakes on my. Oh my God. They're all sort of almost crushed by them, and they're joyless and they're very serious. It's like everybody knows in the movie that this is the end of the series. They've all been told, be sad, this is the final Mission Impossible, this is the final chance for us to all worship Tom Cruise. It looks no sadder than that. Try to look really angry, like this is a fucking existential crisis that you're going through. The end of days. And for some reason, that crisis, which afflicts all the characters in the movie, prompts them to become sort of amateur philosophers and forces them to speak in a way that it is like the end of days. It is like they are about to reach the final judgment. And there they are, saying things like, Ethan, we are the summation of our choices, though many of these are unquantifiable and consequently unknowable. When pondering, as I will now, their effect on our destiny, a question that must be lolled around the mouth like a boiled sweet, because you, Ethan, are the living manifestation of destiny, whatever that means. Imagine everyone talking like that for 2 3/4 hours. Ethan Hunt, the living manifestation of destiny. The living manifestation of destiny. That's what they called him in the last movie. A line one imagines that was written by Tom Cruise himself after one of his Scientology groupings. So you get a lot of that. And you get a lot of people talking about how much the human race is at stake. Every living thing. That's what's at stake. And who can save us? Only one man. There's only one man who can be trusted with all of that power and responsibility. And that's Ethan Hunt. He's the only one. He's the most important human being who's ever lived, don't you see? And everyone in the movie knows it. He's too modest to say it himself. He'd never say it himself. But he doesn't need to. Every other character in the film is there to remind us of this fact. And he's so sexually magnetic. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed this. Tom Cruise certainly has. He's so sexually magnetic that women can't keep their hands off him, even when he's recovering from the bends in a decompression chamber for one. Lady Atwell's there with him, stroking him for 10 minutes. When, you'd think, actually, they'd be looking in from the outside. But no, she climbed in there with him, clambered in. It's a chance to touch him, touch the great Ethan Hunt. Just let me touch him. He's the living manifestation of destiny. I just want to touch him just once. Oh. And the thing about Ethan is, as we learn in this movie, he can do no wrong. Did you know that? I bet you thought, when you saw the original Mission Impossible, that he'd condemn that poor bloke at Langley. The one whose pass he stole in order to steal the knock list. He'd condemn that guy to probably prison or unemployment or whatever. Well, we find out in this movie that he'd spent the last nearly 30 years in a listening station in the Arctic. So you might think Ethan's ruined his life, but you'd be wrong, because he loves it in the Arctic. He loves it there, and he loves the woman he met, the love of his life. He thanks Ethan for it. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my wife. You see, even when he doesn't mean to, he does the right thing. He's that good. So, Ethan Hunt is a man of impeccable credentials. He's above government. He's above, can't be bought. He's the ultimate agent, the one who works for you and me, the little person, the people he'll never meet, as well as the people he has met. And he'll save us all, because that's what he does. That's what he does. He saves everybody. He's the living manifestation of destiny, and his destiny is to save all of us. And he does, again. It's not a spoiler, really, I don't think. This movie, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, not Dead Reckoning Part 2, don't say that. It's The Final Reckoning, is a tribute to Tom Cruise. One might say it's Tom Cruise's tribute to himself. We're invited to be impressed by his physique, again, in a distended opening fight that goes on for about, 45 minutes. We bask in the glow of his sexual prowess as seen through the eyes of the gawping Hayley Atwell. He doesn't gawp at her, she gawps at him. Right? And, of course, we've got the stunts. The famed stunts. Tom Cruise, the Buster Keaton of our age. Although, he works with wires which are painted out and other little tricks to safeguard his well-being. But the Buster Keaton of our age. Look as he escapes from an underwater tomb as he navigates through a sunken submarine. Look as he hangs from a biplane. Isn't it extraordinary? Well, these are good sequences, and this is good action, but there's just not enough of it. Not in a movie that runs for 2 hours and 45 minutes. If this was a 1 hour and 45 minute movie, I think we'd be in better territory. Maybe the editors would have been forced. That would have been their impossible mission, if you like, to move the story on. No fat, please. No bullshit. Just get us to the action. Like they did in Fallout. But whoever cut that glorious movie was, disavowed. They've been captured or killed, evidently, because they're not coming back. Not now. Christopher McQuarrie and the crews have got a different agenda for this movie, and the last. And boy, do we feel every minute of it. 2 sequences in a 3-hour movie feels a bit mean to me. But, you may disagree. You'd be wrong, but you could disagree. What's all this in aid of, really? Well, it's the final part, I think, of Tom Cruise's rehabilitation with the general public. You'll recall that around the time of Mission Impossible 3, he was making a complete arse of himself, passive-aggressive interview after passive-aggressive interview.
Here's the thing, Peter. Yeah. You're stepping over a line now. You're stepping over a line. You know you are.
Well, I suppose they're questions that people want to know.
Peter, you want to know. Take responsibility for what you want to know. Don't say what other people. This is a conversation that I'm having with you right now.
You're right.
Okay, so I'm just telling you right now. Okay? Just put your manners back in. Yes. Now, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Come here. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Very funny. Will you please?
No, it's okay. No, wait 1 second. What's so funny about that?
Jumping about on Oprah Winfrey's couch.
I'm in love. They're literally on the edge of their seats. They're like this. No, I know what he's doing. He's processing. He's trying to figure out what he is going to tell, what he isn't going to tell. I've never seen you like that. I know. We've never seen you behave this way before. I know. Have you ever felt this way before?
Basically looking like a tit. People were starting to ask questions about everything in his life, his sexuality, his position within the Scientology cult, and some began to suspect that Tom Cruise might not be a normal, everyday kind of guy, might not be like us at all. He might be a creepy little bastard.
May I ask, what is your name?
John Moore.
Mr. Moore, if I may. Is there something frightening to you about the cause's travels into the past?
Frightening?
Yes.
No.
What scares you so much about traveling into the past, sir?
I'm not.
Are you afraid that we might discover that our past has been reshapen, perverted, and perhaps what we think we know of this world is false information?
The Cruise has been shrewd. Since Ghost Protocol, he's realised he can use the Mission Impossible movies to rehabilitate his public reputation. He stays quiet, off camera, except to smile and talk about how wonderful the movies are. On camera, he risks his very life for our cheap entertainment, so that we'll forget that actually this is not a man you'd want to spend any time with under any circumstances in the real world. Unless, of course, you were prepared to bask in the glow of his sexual prowess, his physique, and his incredible dexterity when it comes to performing stunts. If you subscribe to the cult of Tom Cruise, if you believe that Tom Cruise is the living manifestation of destiny, like the character he plays, then I imagine you and he get on like a house on fire. Simon Pegg must be struggling to think of new great things to say, new superlatives to use when in the presence of the mighty Cruise. But for the rest of us, these movies have allowed us to forget that he is, in fact, a bit of a weirdo. Maybe you need to be a bit of a weirdo to do what he does and to put himself at risk for our cheap entertainment. And that's fine. I know it's entertaining watching him do it. But what's missing from the Mission Impossible movies, I'm sure you'll agree, is any sense of real warmth or humanity. Our chief protagonist throughout these 8 movies is an unknowable human being, somebody that sort of presents like a normal person and talks like a normal person, but isn't quite there. There's nothing behind the eyes, you know what I mean? He is what he does, but he's nothing more. And you might say, well, that's fine. We don't expect James Bond to be a real person. And when James Bond was made a real person by Daniel Craig, the whole thing fell apart horribly, because you don't add psychological layers to James Bond. But James Bond, despite being a one-dimensional character, has certain characteristics which make him a sort of desirable proxy for us, right? The man we might want to be. We get a certain sense of him as being somebody who's educated, cultured, thoughtful, etc., etc. A loner, for sure, but nevertheless, all of those things. And that's why we like James Bond. But beyond his Mission Impossibling, what do we know about Ethan Hunt? Nothing. Because there is nothing. We don't know what he likes to do, where he likes to go, what he knows about, what he doesn't know about. We don't really know anything about him, because he is only what he does on the screen. And that suits Tom Cruise just fine, because I imagine that Tom Cruise sees himself that way. He is whatever he does. But who is he? Well, maybe we don't want to know. Still, these movies allow us to suspend our disbelief. We do, again, but this final entry in the series, to summarise, is too long, too wordy, too ponderous, too self-important, and too much of a backslapping exercise for Cruise and Macquarie, and not enough of just a fully fledged fun action movie. A lot more effort should have been put into making this a great movie first. A tribute to Tom Cruise second.
All it does is mask the problem, Matt. And if you understand the history of it, it masks the problem. That's what it does.
Sorry, excuse me, my phone's... Hello? Oh, hello. It's God. Yes. Yes, or I'm actually in the middle... It's nice of you to call. We haven't spoken before, but I am actually in the middle of... Well, yes, you know. I know you know. But well, can I finish... What? Sure. He wants to give us his definitive ranking of the Mission Impossible movies. So, because if it comes from him, then it can't be argued. It's 100% definitive, you might say. I think I did say it, didn't I? Okay. Right, well, tell me quickly, what are they? What's the ranking? Right, from best to worst, then. Yeah, okay. And number 1, Mission Impossible 1. Really? It was a bit... Are you sure? I mean, it's a bit confusing, wasn't it? The action was great. It's really basically 3 sequences linked together rather than a movie in its own right. Okay. Alright, so a bit of nostalgic 90s charm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, alright. With nostalgia, adds 10%. Alright, fine. 2, Fallout, yeah. Well, I would argue it probably should be 1, but okay, we won't quibble. 3, what? Ghost Protocol, yeah, okay. 4, Rogue Nation, yeah, it's about somewhere in the middle. I would agree with that. 5 and 6, Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning, in that order. Yes. At 7, Mission Impossible 3. Yes, I agree. Well, in some respects, even that, despite the melodrama and the awful, inclusion of Ethan Hunt's wife, which was stupid, the movie is all right. It's probably got a better script than the first 2, but the direction was just so flat, didn't you think? Yes. Well, Abrams overcompensated in Star Trek 2009, didn't he? He went crazy, but that's why. He's trying to prove himself as a director. So that leaves us with Mission Impossible 2, doesn't it, at the bottom? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, if you let me go, I'll explain to them why that is. Alright then. Thanks. Bye. So, Mission Impossible 2, God wants you to know, is the worst in the series. We can't argue with him, he's God, he knows. Why? Well, I would say because even though it's directed with a lot of zeal and energy, and John Woo's stylized direction is great fun, it's got an absolute dud of a script. I mean, it is really basic stuff. Cruise wanted it to be basic. He thought the first one was too complicated for audiences, so he said, let's dumb it down. And boy, did they.
Here's the problem. You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do.
But if you're a fan of John Woo, you're a fan of Hans Zimmer, and you're a fan of, kitsch, nonsense, then I suppose you love Mission Impossible 2, don't you? But be honest with yourselves, it's not the best. But there are no long ponderous speeches in it, are there? So I don't know. Maybe it's ripe for re-evaluation, but not by me. I still think it's shit. So that's it. Mission Impossible is over, but Cruise will no doubt come back one day, because he'll miss the attention that these movies bring him. If he does, I'm sure you would agree, he must die on screen for real. Otherwise, what's the point? That's it. Goodbye, and as Tom Cruise would say, be careful out there.